Welcome to 44 and 1. As always, I am GVizzle. This is Tempest, and we're doing something a little bit different today. Why don't you tell us what we're doing, Tempest?
Yeah, well, GVizzle seems to be such a font of wisdom over the last year that
You almost made me spit out my coffee.
yeah, that I figured we should go down the agony aunt route. And so, if our listeners or viewers want to send in agony aunt questions for GVizzle to answer, they could be serious or funny.
On this side of the pond, agony aunt is like a Dear Abby.
Okay, Dear Abby.
Yes.
Yeah, and so the website is 44and1@gmail.com. That's the number 4 and the number 1, so it's 44and1@gmail.com. So if you want GVizzle to answer your questions, and
if you want to tap into this font of life advice,
yeah, exactly. And
if you want someone with no qualifications or skills to tell you, what to do,
and you might have already picked up on the fact that I'm the one pushing this. So today I've looked for some online. All right. Okay. So you can,
and I don't know these, so let's be clear. I don't know what's coming. I have not had time to prepare. So good advice or bad advice, it's off the cuff.
So whichever way you want it to go first, but I'm going to hop between them. I've got some from a local paper up here in the Northeast called the Northern Echo. And so I nicked some from there. And I've got some other ones from a book that was published in 1759, The Gentleman and Lady of Pleasure's Amusement.
Do I have to answer it as though I'm living in 1759?
No. Answer it
as a modern day gal sensibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's start with an 18th century one then. A young lady is pregnant and not sure how it happened.
Question. I have a couple ideas.
Yeah. Wrong toilet seat, that's what it was. I am in the prime of life and not unattractive, one of 2 daughters to a loving and industrious father. I now think I am pregnant, not sure how or when it happened, but I'm worried that my father will disinherit me. My question being, is it possible for me to have become pregnant whilst asleep, as that is the only way it could have happened, and I didn't know about it? Also, is it legal for me to kill the embryo so that my father doesn't find out?
1759?
Yeah.
So if she got pregnant in her sleep, I would be very concerned if she got pregnant in her sleep, because that means that something nefarious is that. I don't know what advice to offer this woman other than set up a nanny cam and get an abortion.
Yeah. Nanny cam would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah, she needs to know what's happening while she's sleeping.
And it says something about the time that her primary worry is that her father will disinherit her. How do you think
at the time that was probably a valid concern, right? Because in the 18th century, it's not like unwed mothers were as warmly embraced by the community as they are today.
Yeah.
And having been married or pregnant out of wedlock, she wouldn't have been a viable wife for any reputable suitor. So she would have been pretty much destitute, and then having to pick up the local drunkard at the bar who would make him his wife. So, I mean, her options were pretty limited. If she was looking at her life moving forward at that time and that place, she would really have had no other option other than to find somebody super quick to marry her, no questions asked, or to get rid of the baby.
Yeah, and in some ways, it's kind of, on the face of it, it feels like we've changed a lot since 1759. But when you really get into the nitty gritty and really think about it, we haven't changed much. There's still a lot of men out there that would either want to disinherit her or wouldn't want to take her in because she's a single mother.
I mean, we see it all the time on videos where guys are talking shit about single mothers. They put on their dating profiles, they don't want single mothers. Depending on if she had the misfortune of being born in a different time in a different place, she would have been murdered by her own family in an honor killing. There was just, we haven't really progressed anything. Our hygiene is probably the one thing that's gotten better.
Yeah.
But we're still shit to each other, but we've got great hygiene.
Well, I'm sitting here laughing, and then I'm looking at myself at the camera, reminding myself I have British teeth, so it hasn't changed.
That's fair.
Yeah, some things haven't changed.
But no one's pulling fleas or nits out of your hair, so you're okay.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't had my hair cut for a while, have I?
That's true. And you have a shit sense of smell, so you don't know what's going on.
Exactly. I have no idea what's in my head. Yeah, and I think there are more men now, though. Like, there's a high proportion of us who would marry somebody who'd had a kid in a previous relationship, or didn't know how it happened or anything. And I did know somebody when I was a teenager that she actually was her mother got raped and then got pregnant with her, and then because they were in Ireland, she had to have the child, which was then my mate.
Yikes.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine, like, because it seems to be that's kind of what's happened to this young lass in this question. But yeah, but in those days as well, they try and bring out all this stuff about abortions, and they try and say, like, it's a modern problem, and they try and
it's noted in the Bible. Like, the Bible has rules for when you can abort.
Yeah, and
even pre the Bible, in ancient Egypt, they were using crocodile dung as birth control, not as
but
abortant.
but the people who are against abortion try and say things like the morning after pill, which would have been the crocodile dung, I guess, are against God and creation. Like, they try and say that things like the morning after pill are a form of abortion, which they're not. And
no, it's a form of birth control.
Yeah, and in 1759, you were allowed to abort a fetus, like, up to a certain point, because they didn't really see it as having a soul until the what do they call it? There's the first kick,
first breath, isn't it? Isn't it first? No, the
quickening,
fluttering?
I think it is.
Quickening,
I think it's quickening.
Yes,
quickening. So when you feel your baby moving, that's when the soul's there, and that's.
Doesn't quickening sound like a horror movie title?
Yeah.
Like, imagine a horror movie that takes place inside of a placenta.
Yeah. It's quickening.
You can make a whole movie about, what was that type of pregnancy where you can get, like, pregnant twice in the span of, like, 2 different. So imagine, like, go with me on this. Imagine has sex, gets pregnant. A couple days later, she has sex again, gets pregnant again, it is possible. So now she's got 2 separate embryos. The quickening happens. They become self-aware, fight to the death in the womb. And the whole movie is shot from inside the placenta. Box office hit.
In this day and age, with the tripe that Hollywood are putting out, it'd probably do quite well.
Box office hit. Adult animation, of course. So who would play the embryos? I think we need husky voices, like a Vin Diesel.
And you can have Patton Oswalt playing a parasite in there.
Yes.
He's got a good voice.
He does, but I think we also do, like, Patton Oswalt and like Tom Holland, right? So it's like, who has she been sleeping with?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because all the sperms, they could all have a bunch of different voices on their way to the eggs.
Exactly.
That could be the whole, like, act 1 would be the sperms. You could have Ryan Reynolds, you could have Patton Oswalt, you can
hear them all swimming. The first one makes it. Before he breaches the side of the egg, he has to engage in battle with somebody who got there at the same time. It never ends, the fighting. Then once he's, like, comfortably developing,
another one comes in
to rock the boat, and he's like, not again. Much like Highlander, there can be only one. It's the prequel to the origin story of Highlander.
They'd be like, Luke, I am your brother.
Write that one down. We got to send that to Hollywood.
Yeah. The embryo challenge.
No, it's called the quickening.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, the quickening. There we go. Yeah.
And the eyes in quickening are little swords.
No, they're going to be the sperms.
Little sperm?
Yeah.
The tittle on the eye could be the sperm.
He all curled up. And who's
we're wasting our talents with this podcast. We need to start making movies.
So, do you want to know what the advice was back in 1759?
Absolutely, I do.
It is highly unlikely that you could have become pregnant without knowing it, unless you were very drunk or having a swooning fit. Given that neither of these seem likely, we are sure that you will be fine, so stop worrying about it. In answer to your second question, that would be murder and treated accordingly.
At the time, was it?
No, we cover this. If it's an embryo and
But
we
are
haven't
you
had the
sure about
quickening.
that in
Yeah,
1759?
yeah.
Did you do your homework before we aired?
Oh, that came in 1803, the Ellenborough Act. Abortion after
So at the
quickening
time,
carried a death penalty. Previously, the punishment had been less severe.
what are you reading? Because I'm reading.
Abortion Rights, the National Pro-Choice Campaign.
I'm reading the National Library of Medicine.
Yeah, I'm reading an abortion website it's got a whole page about the law. So I think it was the first references to abortion in English law appeared in the 13th century. The law followed church teaching that abortion was acceptable until quickening, which it was believed was when the soul entered the fetus. The legal situation remained like this for centuries until 1803, when the death penalty was brought in if you abort after quickening. And before that, the punishment was less severe, but up until quickening, it was always legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that
we don't know.
The book gave her misinformation.
We don't know at what point she is in the pregnancy.
But she did refer to it as an embryo.
It was 1759. They still thought fucking left-handed people were witches. Like, I don't.
I am
a witch. She
witch.
doesn't know when she got pregnant. If she doesn't know when she got pregnant or if she's pregnant, then she can refer to it as a panda, and it wouldn't matter because she doesn't exactly know. Right? We would have to trace back her last period. Presumably, she's either feeling some sort of morning sickness, or she has actually felt the baby move. So the timing of the pregnancy could be up for debate.
Yeah, but the thing is that if this was an upstanding publication that actually fact-checked themselves, which of course in 1759 you could get away with it more often if you didn't fact-check, and they didn't have a podcast co-host jumping down your neck.
But also, who was going to prove them wrong, really?
Yeah. So
like they were going to Google it? They were.
So this poor lass now thinks that, so if she does turn out to be pregnant, then she's going to think that like, oh, well, I wasn't allowed to abort it and it could have been murder, when really she could have aborted it legally.
She could have. But also, like, aside from that, she's also being told either you're a liar.
Yeah.
Or a murderer.
Yeah.
But either way, you silly little feeble-minded woman, don't worry about it.
Yeah, stop worrying about it.
Yeah. You'll get wrinkles if you worry.
Yeah. Oh man. In the 1750s, I'm pretty sure people got wrinkles by the time they were 12 from all the stress.
They made it that long. So in the Agony Aunt challenge, I think I am 1 versus terrible 18th century advice. GVizzle 1, 18th century advice 0.
Let's do a modern one then. This is in the Northern Echo. In case anybody ever wants to look it up, it's in an article called Ask Fiona. Our Agony Aunt answers readers' questions, and this was published on the 21st of October, 2021. Okay. All right then. So, should I cut my losses and move on? I've been seeing a beautiful and caring woman for the past 11 years, but we only lived together for about 5 of those in a home I purchased. I've wanted to marry her from the day I met her, but every time I've brought it up, she says we don't have the building blocks to do something that permanent. I'll admit things have been bumpy. Although we lived together, we often led separate lives. For example, she has 3 girls from a previous partner and did many school events with them, to which I was never invited because the girl's father was going to be there. Her 21-year-old daughter is a single parent and has been a constant source of problems. She does what she wants, when she wants, and she's always been like this. Her mother makes it easy for her. She and her baby lived with us for a while, and she continues to live with her mother to this day. We always seem to have other members of her family staying too. Her mother decided she wanted a fresh start and moved in with us shortly after we moved in together. And she stayed with us for a year, and it only ended because I demanded she moved out. But then we let her brother and his wife move into our rental property, another nightmare. I was getting confused then with who moved in where. They paid the rent infrequently and were not good tenants, so we didn't part on good terms when I kicked them out. Then 3 years ago, I had an affair with a colleague, though I'm not sure you can call it an affair because the woman I care for and I were never legally married. Yeah, we're coming back to that. Anyway, my colleague and I had a baby, but I still didn't want to leave my significant other. Although I was not going to leave my daughter without a father, I managed to get joint custody and my daughter lives with me 50% of the time, but my significant other has since moved out. We continue to see each other and we even say we're together, but there are no plans to live together anytime soon. Much as I miss her, I don't miss her lazy daughter, but maybe it's asking too much of her to love another woman's kid. One way or another, I've devoted a lot of time and energy to this relationship, but I'm not sure I was ever getting what I wanted. I wonder if it's time to cut my losses. And it's signed JR.
Yes. JR, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's his house, and she just has people moving into his house, seemingly without asking. She doesn't want to. The building blocks of how are you with someone for 11 years, living together for 5, and you still don't think you have the building blocks of the relationship? That's shady as fuck. So she's making his home a hotel. She doesn't invite him to things, even though they've been together for 11 years, because the girl's father is going to be there. That's ridiculous. She's either creating drama where there is none, or she's not really into this relationship, and she's just using him for the house. And the extra room so her family can move in, because 11 years later with seemingly adult children, your ex-husband should know that you have this new partner and that he's a part of this children's life. She's keeping him completely separate from his life. He had an affair. It doesn't matter if you're not married, guy. It's still a fucking affair. And has a baby. Yeah, it is a lot to ask that this woman is going to be raising your baby and loving your child when I'm not even sure if she loves him. Like, she just and she's moved out. I miss her, but not her lazy daughter. They're kind of a package deal, as is the rest of her family. But he's talking about the 11 years. That's irrelevant. Cut your losses. Recoup some time. Be a father to this baby. Be with a woman if you want to be with her. But yeah, this 11-year relationship is O to the ver. The end.
I think that was a very concise, well-worded response.
Thank you. I took notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was quite a roller coaster. Because, like, to start with, I was like, whoa, this woman sounds like a piece of work.
There's a lot going on there, yeah.
Yeah, and then when it gets to, like, the fact that, oh, I had an affair, but maybe it wasn't because we weren't ever legally married. It's like, no, you're in a relationship and you were...
It's still an affair.
Yeah, and I know we'll have all the other excuses, all the other shit that happened, but it's like, I just think you get to a point, particularly if you sunk 11 years into a relationship, you can't just... It is an affair, no matter which way you want to try and spin it.
It is, but I mean, like, they've been together for 11 years, living together for 5, and she's not fully invested into this. Like, why did she even move in with him?
Yeah.
She wasn't invested in this relationship. And, like, after 11 years, you're not inviting this man into your child's life. Like, every day she is telling him she's not serious about this relationship. She's not taking him and the relationship seriously. It's no wonder he had an affair. Like, not that I'm excusing that type of behavior, but
it's one of those guy. It's one of those things that I think that people need to be more honest with themselves about why they've done it, because they can still make the decision not to have the affair. Like, just because someone's done something bad to you doesn't mean that you can then go out and do something bad.
My mom has this phrase, this saying. She goes, "If you step on my toe, I want to step on your whole foot." Like, she is,
yeah.
She's an adorably nasty piece of work, that one. But like, she didn't do any one thing wrong. I think it was just the death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yes.
Like she was just constantly chipping away at any type of future in this relationship. I mean, he could have just manned up and just broken up with her first, kicked her out, and then had the affair and been done with it. But no, she chose the coward's way out.
Yeah, and like, can you imagine, like, if being that guy, if you'd managed to get all the way through those 11 years with all of that shit going on, and then you can hold your head high and say, yeah, I nearly had an affair. It was all on a platter, but I didn't give into it. And can you imagine how much your next partner would respect you for that?
Yeah, because you're coming from a toxic relationship and you didn't fall prey to what a lot of like that weakness. But also, I mean, here's a PSA for anybody who's listening. If you're going to have an affair, make sure your birth control game is fucking tight. Right?
Yeah, right.
Dukes.
Yeah, you take 0 chances. 0.
No, you condom, birth control pill, pull it out, finger crossing method, plan B, all make her jump up and down afterward, all of it.
Get the Henry Hoover out.
You do it all.
But yeah, he does need to cut his losses. Because the thing is the sunk cost fallacy is a real thing. People, you do fall. It's very easy to fall prey to that, and you think, "Oh, I've put 11 years into this,"
Yeah, and that's probably 10 too many, right? Like you're not gonna.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
already put 11 years into it, so I may as well put another 50.
yeah.
Really?
And I wonder if sometimes that's because if somebody's been in a toxic relationship like that, I don't mean about this guy specifically, but when they're in a really toxic environment, they put in 10 plus years into a relationship. I think they kind of lose focus or perspective on what they're actually worth to other people. How much do they bring to the table? I mean, this is clearly a successful guy. He's been able to support his ex-dodgy partner doing all this toxic shit. And, they've got a rented property and a house and all that stuff.
Yeah. And she is an abuser because she's worn him down to the point where either the highs with her are so high that he feels like there is really love there, right? Like she might like love bomb him when she's not being super shitty about everything else. So she's let him into that, or he feels like maybe she's chipped away at his self-esteem, so he doesn't deserve any better, or he's not going to find any better, or he's like, there could just be so much here, but she is definitely abusing him in this relationship emotionally.
Yeah, totally. Oh, maybe even financially too.
Yeah. Sounds like he's paying for everything.
Yeah, the fact that like she let her brother and his brother and her brother and her sister-in-law basically move into a rental property and completely financially abuse the guy, and like she let it happen. Like it, from the way he's worded it, obviously we're only getting his side of it, but it sounds like that she just let her brother run roughshod all over her partner. Like
and her mom moved in for a while. Like I wonder, but then there's also that, like, is he setting any boundaries, right? Or is she saying, my mom's moving in, and he's like, okay, honey, even though he hates it and he's seething. Because after the mom moved in, if he wasn't happy with that, or the daughter the first time around, he could have set those boundaries to say, like, your family is no longer, I mean, it's a difficult boundary to set, but how many times does this poor guy need to have his home invaded by her family before he's like, no mas, no more family.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, I think there's a lot of lessons for him to learn here. Like if he has the, time or inclination to just think about what's gone on here, and like all of these little instances that, I mean, because, it's only like a page that he's written on. So obviously this is like a concise letter he's written. So only the most important stuff is in there. And that's going to be a lot of learning experiences, so that when he's ready to get a new relationship, like,
hopefully if he's now got shared custody with this other woman and their baby, he's like going from was that cliche, from the pot into the fire, right? Like he's not going to have time to sit back and self-reflect, because he's going to have to exit this woman out of his life. And then in the time that he should be alone with himself, figuring him shit out, he's going to be too busy converting a room into a nursery and taking care of a baby. Like he's until that baby comes, that's where he's got to like kick her out and take those few months to work on himself, which is probably not gonna be enough time, but he's got to do it before the baby comes.
Well, I guess you can reflect for an hour every evening with a glass of whiskey.
When the baby's with the mother, then he gets to like, what have I done with my life? Where am I going? What's happening? How did I get here?
Now, do you want to see what Fiona said? I have no idea what she said, because again, I'm reading all this for the first time too. So you describe this woman as your significant other, but from the start of your relationship together, you've not been the only person in her life. She is obviously deeply committed to her family, and whatever you may think of her daughter, I suspect she loves her greatly. You tell me you often led separate lives, that she was still sufficiently in touch with the children's father to attend school events with him. You also tell me you had an affair with a colleague. Doesn't this all add up to something for you? You have never been loved enough by this woman, and it seems like you never will be. You looked for love and affection elsewhere, and perhaps you found it, although for reasons best known to you and to your colleague, you've decided not to make a future with her. The child you have with your colleague is not just another woman's kid. Had you had this daughter before you met your significant other, it might have been completely different, but the child is now a constant reminder that your relationship together wasn't enough. That's a good point. By the sound of it, it has never been enough. She has always wanted others around her, be it her mother, her daughter, or her brother. Isn't this a clue for you that however much you may care for her, she needs more than you can give her? You ask if it's time to cut your losses, but that's only something you can decide. If you are willing to accept things as they are, and then the relationship will probably continue in the same vein. I honestly cannot see it changing. If you're not, then yes, perhaps it is time for you to look for love elsewhere. Might that be with your colleague? If not her, then at least another woman who wouldn't have to look at your child and know however much she cared for you, it wasn't enough to stop you looking for love elsewhere. Yeah.
I like most of that, except for when she says what she wanted was more than you can give her. Like, she's
Yeah.
making it sound like a failing on his part that
Yeah.
this woman is leading a separate life. I didn't care for that sentence at all.
No, same. I felt that like she was maybe the balance was just a bit off. That like she was kind of harsh on him when like he deserved it, but that wasn't returned to his partner, kind of thing. That like, yeah, no, she did do X, Y, and Z was really shitty. She made it sound more like that his partner just wanted people around, you know, because she's really close to her family in a way that he isn't. And I
think she gave the ex a bit more of the benefit of the doubt than she needed. And then she needed more than you could give. Motherfucker, I gave her a house. I gave her I gave her 11 years of my life that she didn't reciprocate and like excluded me out of. Like, how much more did she expect him to give? As soon as you're living with someone and they're not, like, I'm so hung up on this, not inviting him to these, like, he's lived with these children, depending on how old they are, since they were, well, they're adults now. Since they were children, he's been in their lives. And she doesn't think that he's going to want to see them perform in a school play or go to their graduation or any of those things. Like, she has kept him from playing the role that it sounds like he wanted to play as a partner and a father. And she's just kind of like, no. Thanks for the room and board.
Let's roll the next person in type kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. I care for her. What a refreshing change to shit talk women for.
yeah. But I think I think it's a healthier perspective that we've given anyway on the dilemma, because you find this a lot in a lot of these like newspaper agony aunts or whatever, that they're kind of biased one way or another, or they write themselves into their response, or you can see how they're projecting their own hang-ups on the person's thing.
I wonder how much of it is also limited by the fact that they only have a certain number of characters, right? Like, they don't have as much space in that, because they want to get through as many questions as they can, presumably. So you've only got a few paragraphs. But I mean, if you only have a few paragraphs and you're going to pick the most concise and impactful things to say, victim blaming
is not the way to do it.
Not the road to take.
And I think this is kind of why I've been trying to get you to do this, actually. It's just because, like, over the last year of our friendship, that, like, you've helped me out a few times with various bits of, life advice giving or whatever. And
I'm thebomb.com, yo.
Yeah.
I just think today.
Other people could either get hilarity from it, or they could get some help from it, That's what I reckon. Anyway.
In God's work, you are.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my joys with the world. That's what I'm doing.
This is fun. Are we doing another one?
We'll do another 18th century one.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. This might be a nice quick one. So, question. I've been dating two sisters, both equally beautiful and talented. I know I can't have them both. What should I do? That's it.
Flip a coin.
What?
What's that thing? That saying? If you flip a coin, you're not letting the coin decide, but the moment the coin leaves your finger,
yes,
you know which one you want it to land on. Do that.
That's the one.
Or just leave them both alone. Let them carry on with their lives, you cheating son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They're going to find out.
Yeah.
If they don't already know, right? Especially in the 18th century, you dated to marry. So you don't think one of the sisters at the wedding is going to be like, sis.
Yeah.
But also, how are these sisters not communicating with one another?
Yeah.
Like, I'm dating a new man. This is like a weird 1970s sitcom plot.
That's another film idea then. Some kind of weird meet cute and weird serendipitous events and stuff.
There was already a movie called Serendipity that was exactly that. But there was a movie with Robert Downey Jr., Heather Graham, and someone whose name I can't remember, where like the two women show up at their boyfriend's apartment to greet him because he was traveling, and then they learn that they're there for the same guy. So they break into his apartment and they just sit there talking about their relationships and like comparing and contrasting until he shows up, and then it's like this whole blow up of like, you've been cheating on us and we now figured it out. The movie's been done. Someone read The Agony Aunt and stole that idea.
But they haven't done it in 1759 though, have they?
No, they have not.
Yeah, and then the winner of between the two sisters or whatever, they have to duke it out. Pistols at dawn. They get to fight the survivor of the Quickening in a battle royale.
We brought it full circle.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. One of them is the survivor of the Quickening.
Maybe the bloke is, and then that's why
the plot thickens.
That's why he's such an evil piece of shit. The 1759 answer was, as you appear to love them both, you can't pretend to either, as we presume you expect a whole heart in return for only half of yours.
Nice. That's actually nice advice.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to say stop being a dick.
Yeah. See, people were just so much better with their wordage in those days.
Right? Nice and flowery. Good fun for us. Are you looking for fun new glasses that won't break the bank? Go to zlul.com. They have daily flash sales. You can find frames as low as $2. Prescription, non-prescription, sunglasses, they have it all. Use my promo code to save.
And then somebody was saying, like, would you rather, if your partner cheated on you, would you rather it be with somebody who's the same sex and gender as you or the same sex and gender as them, assuming a heterosexual relationship?
It wouldn't make any difference to me. Cheating is cheating.
Yeah. So is there any nuance in that, or is it just a blanket?
It's just cheating is cheating. I mean, I would... cheating is cheating because the reasons behind it, it's a break in trust and communication. Whereas if my husband was unfulfilled in our relationship, so he cheated with a woman, right? It's still cheating. And I would rather he have come to me first to say, I'm feeling unfulfilled. This is if we want to work on it, this is what I need from you. But also if on the other hand, he was questioning his sexuality and wanted to explore that, and then he did it without telling me first, it's still cheating. Like if you were to come to me at first to say, I'm questioning some things, I'm having some feelings, I want to explore it, then we can figure out how to move forward, whether together or separate. Whereas when he cheats, there's only moving forward separately because the reasons behind it. We've been together long enough and we've gone through enough shit and we've communicated all of that shit. That's kind of what has brought us here 27 years later, is that we can communicate openly and honestly. And if at this point he decides he can't do that anymore, then the relationship is over. Whether with man, woman, the relationship's over.
Interesting.
I mean, depending on the situation, we may still be able to be friends afterward, depending. But yeah, no, it wouldn't make any difference.
See, for me, it would be, I think maybe it's because of, I wonder if it's based on the kind of people that we're with and how long we've been with them. It would hurt me more if my partner went off with a woman than a man, because there's more steps involved in it. That like, so if you've got, trying to think how to word it. Say if you've got like relationship problems and then your partner goes and cheats, there's less steps involved cheating on somebody who is the same sex and gender as you are, rather than if they go with the opposite gender, then there's a, and you know that they're heterosexual, like the entire time you've thought they're heterosexual, now they're going off with somebody of the same sex as them, then like that requires more steps in their in the miscommunication and all the other unsaid stuff. It implies there's more going on underneath it all than like, it means you've completely misread the situation, I guess. Is that, and then I think it may be another reason why I think this way is because I'm not wording this very well at all. But men and women tend to cheat for very different reasons, and then there's like there's a whole different kind of process that goes on for them. So if my partner was unhappy enough to end up cheating, and I know like how she feels about stuff, and I know what her sexual orientation is and how she identifies and all that sort of thing, then for her to be deeply unhappy enough to take the path of cheating on me, that takes a lot. But then to have all the other stuff as well, that like to then have a homosexual relationship instead, like that's more stuff added on. And then it just kind of creates, it just means the problems were bigger, even bigger than if she just cheated on me.
And I have a different perspective. I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I would assume, see, I would think that if my husband cheated with a woman, it would, his motivations would likely be that he's unfulfilled and unhappy in our relationship. But I feel like if he cheated with a man, it was because he was exploring his own sexuality and questioning some of those things and trying to figure that out. I mean, because he's heterosexual, right? If he was bisexual and he cheated with either, then it would kind of like
It'd be the same. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's a different thought. Like you said, they cheat for different reasons. But I also think that even one person is man or woman cheating with a man or woman, right? Even those motivations would be different. Like I see one is exploratory and one is questioning versus unhappy. I also think that I think depending on, I think when, if a woman has a lesbian affair versus a man having a homosexual affair, previously being heterosexual, I think those would also be seen societally a little bit different, because every guy thinks that like any woman would be a lesbian given the right motivations, right? There's like the college lesbians girls who would go to parties and make out with other girls to impress the guys. So I don't think that women with other women has the same thought process as a man with man, because gay relationships aren't as romanticized in the media or whatever as women's are, right? Like there's men and women both watch lesbian porn, but watching gay porn, I think a lot of the motivation for watching that would be different. So I don't know where I'm going with this anymore.
No, it makes sense. I think it's because maybe the reason why I'm coming from it from this perspective, and none of this is actually happening in my life, by the way. It was just an interesting question.
Thought experiment.
Yeah. But like, because just because I was watching it and then we just got talking about it. But I think it's because of whom specifically my partner is and everything that I know about her and the life that we've shared together. Like, and
then that definitely makes a difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So I think,
I mean,
if it was somebody that had like a different life to her with different life experiences, then my view would probably likely be flipped.
Maybe, and like maybe it's the difference in the types of relationship, right? Like my husband and I have always been able to communicate, and whether it's a difficult conversation or not, we get through it, because that's how we made it 27 years. So if that communication breaks down, then there was something was missing, something was lacking. Even if it was just him trying to explore, like I would presume if that were to happen in real life, he would come to me first to say, I'm questioning, what are we going to do?
I think the other thing that I think was probably quite important is that if she was deeply unhappy and then cheated on me, like, because of all the reasons why she, like, if she was cheating, then all the reasons why that would happen, it's kind of like, it sounds plausible. It's like, at least I'm responsible for at least 50% of it, of that problem, and it means that we both failed. Whereas if it was like, I'm going through something, I'm questioning reality, and I need to explore it, if she hadn't have communicated that to me, that is a huge betrayal of trust in our specific relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also it means that she's a lot more selfish than I thought she was. Like, it would mean that there's a deep selfishness within the person that I didn't think was there, and that I completely misjudged the character because it's like, because of what I perceived it would take to push somebody like her to cheat. Like how bad it would have to be for that to happen. But then
I think But then it depends on, again, the reason for the cheating, right? Like there's
Mm,
a difference between cheating because the relationship has gone to shit versus you're
mm,
questioning your own sexuality, right? Like the motive cheating is still cheating, but the
mm,
motivations are different. And I think the way forward, if there is one, is different. Like if my husband came to me and said he was unhappy, then
mm,
it's like, what do we need to do? We need to get into therapy. We need to fix
mm,
this. We need to work on it. We need to figure out how I'm going to make changes and how you're going to make changes and how we're going to communicate better. But if he came to me and said, I'm questioning my sexuality, then it's like, there's nothing really I can do in that other than say, either, yes, I will give you a whole pass to go explore that,
mhm.
or you need to explore that on your own,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like I think it's just there's different paths that are taken as a
Mm.
result of the motivation.
Yeah, because at that point it is cheating is still cheating. And because sometimes as well, like even something like that can be a symptom of something in the relationship not working. And then that person is then deflecting it internally, mentally, unconsciously into these feelings of a sexuality change, when in reality their mind just sees that as the way out.
But it also kind of has a deeper, like, what was the plan, right?
Mm,
Like, so let's say he went off, he was questioning his sexuality, he went off and had an affair with a man and realized that that's not for me.
mm,
I would never know that. So you would have just
mm,
stepped out, come back,
mm.
having all of this inner turmoil,
Yeah.
right? Like questioning who you are, questioning what you've known about yourself,
Mm,
questioning our relationship, your relationship with yourself and other people. So
yeah.
all of this is happening on his own without
Mm,
telling me, which is again a betrayal of how the basis of what we built our relationship on.
yeah.
But then also if he and like why wouldn't he have told me? Because he didn't want to get me upset, because he didn't want to end the relationship, because he didn't know how I'd be able to handle it. Like all of those factor into it. But then if he went off and had this affair with another man and then was like,
Mm,
yes, this is how I want to go forward, and came to me, like if he were to say, I'm questioning it, I want to explore, and then at the end of that exploration realize
mm,
that he was gay or bi or whatever, I wanted to move forward in a relationship with a man, I would respect that. And I would be like,
mm,
yes, we're going to end our romantic entanglements, but we will
mm,
still, because we're
mm,
still the best of friends, we would still be
mm.
friends moving forward. But if he
Yeah.
did that while having cheated, then I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't be your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it means that you severely misjudged who they are and what you
Yeah.
mean to them.
And
Like,
that's a betrayal. And we've
yeah,
had that, like, the
exactly.
only rules in our relationship have ever been no
Mm,
lying, no cheating, no
yeah.
hitting, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's it. It's
And
pretty
that's
simple.
that's why it would hurt me more if it was a same-sex relationship. And it was that is basically the reason why it would hurt more. Um,
It would still hurt me just as much,
mm,
but the outcome would be, I think, different for me.
yeah, yeah. I definitely think, yeah, it depends on it would depend on how, like, I guess morally upstanding they were being about it. Like, were they trying? I don't know how to word it, but it's that, like, if your partner comes to you and then talks about it, like, I'm feeling really fucked up, all this stuff's going on, and then it means then that, okay, you do respect me, you do want to be my friend, and that means I will be there for you and support you.
Yeah. And you also know you come to me without fear
Yeah,
of me freaking out or getting
yeah,
angry, right? It's
exactly.
because that the decision to lead up to that is not going to be an
Mm,
easy one, right?
exactly.
There's also going to be a lot of inner turmoil that leads
Yeah.
to, let's sit and have this
Mm,
conversation because this is what I'm
mm.
feeling.
Yeah, I think that
It's the coward's way out to just go cheat
yes,
in either
in
instance,
any way, yeah.
whether it's with a same
Mm,
sex or opposite sex. It's the coward's way to
mm.
cheat and not explore the situation in your relationship.
Yeah, and it's like, because at the end of the day, well, why have I spent 10 years then trying to build up this trust, like, to come to me and so we could talk about it, and that, you know, and just be this approachable person and put all that effort in for then to go get cheated on or lied to. Like, it would just be so
Isn't that
annoying.
sunk cost fallacy you were just talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
But it's not. It's also like all that time that we spent developing
Mm,
the ground rules of our relationship,
mm,
and that the most, especially if it's a questioning of who you are,
mm.
like that's probably the biggest thing someone can struggle with, especially
Yeah,
later in life, right? When you've
totally.
like, I think as a teenager, you're kind of still figuring out who you are. By the
Mm.
time you get in your 40s, you think you've got that figured out. And if
Yeah,
something happens to make you question that, that's even a bigger deal. And that
exactly.
you were struggling through that without your best friend
Mm,
to help guide you. Like, it's more difficult for them, and then it's more
mm.
difficult for me. Like, it's shit all around.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the kind of stuff that doesn't get enough attention in like the media or podcasts or anything like that. Nobody talks about the wider impact of these decisions that people have.
Yeah, I worked with a man who,
Mm,
I think 15 years into his marriage with a
mm,
woman, he was like, I can't lie
mm,
anymore. And he came out as gay, and she didn't know, right? That's 15 years of
mm,
her life that
mm.
she thought she was in this happy relationship, and he'd
Yeah.
been kind of struggling for all of that time. Like, it affects her,
Mm.
and now, because her valuable years are behind her. If if she decides in her next relationship she wants to have children, like,
Yeah.
it's later in life. It just affects. It's like, what was that the show? I never watched it, so I don't know. But it's the
Mm.
one with it's called Transparent.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't imagine if my husband now, like 27 years in, was to say,
Mm,
I'm going through this. Like, I would be supportive of him,
mm.
but I'd be like, man, you couldn't have fucking figured this shit out 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Like, we still would have been friends, but
Yeah. After every, that's the thing. It's like, and it's after you've been through everything, and then you've covered all of this ground together, and then you hit with bam, you know?
yeah, because after like 27 years in, you kind of feel like we've
Yeah.
been through all the shit we're gonna be. It should
Yeah.
be easy sailing from this point
Yeah, yeah.
forward.
Mm.
And when they come up with this, like, oh really?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
old, I'm tired, my back hurts. I can't deal with this now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think that why I get so irate with some of these so-called spokespeople and influencers that are trying to sell a certain way of living to other people, no matter what it is. I'm not singling out one specific area, but the topic that never gets brought up by them is how to have the difficult conversations with the people closest to you, that you are now changing your lifestyle and who you are and what they fundamentally know you as.
And having some grace with that, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know if we're in a place now where people give people time
Mm,
to adapt, and time, like,
mm,
I think a lot of people assume that if you were to come out to your parents or your spouse or whatever
mm,
and say, like, I'm trans, I'm gay, I'm whatever,
mm,
that they're just going to be accepting with open arms. And they may end up being, and a lot of them hopefully will be from the get-go, but it takes people time
mm.
to adapt, to come to terms with that. So you've got
Yeah.
to, as much thought and introspection and self-reflection went into making that decision or coming to that realization for yourself,
Mm,
right? Like, it probably took someone months
yeah.
to get comfortable in a place where they could say, yes, I am this and I want to move forward as this. But then they expect the people in their lives to
Just a
just be
switch.
okay with it in seconds, right? Like, it took
Mm,
you forever to get there. Like, how do you think it's
mm,
gonna like,
yeah.
to me? Like, it's gonna take time.
It is basically an act of grief and loss, because like in some cases people change their names, and like if you're changing your gender, often that's accompanied by a name change. And
Yeah.
if you think that, you know, if you're talking to your parents, they've raised you for 20 years, they brought you into this world, gave you a name, and that's all they know you as. And then 20 years down the line, you've had this entire experience together, and then now that person no longer exists.
Like you said, it is a moment of mourning, because you've
Mm,
got to, because it's not just the past that you already had together, but
mm,
it's also that future, right?
yeah.
Like, if you are the parent of a daughter,
Mm,
you are imagining, right, as walking her down the aisle and
yeah.
seeing, like, and all the, and then when she says, no, I'm now
Mm,
John,
mm,
right? I'm transitioning.
yeah.
Then it's like, okay,
Mm.
so I'm going to be sitting on the other side of the church during the wedding ceremony,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
someone else is going to be like
Mm,
it's changing that entire future of what you thought was going to happen, and you need time to
Mm.
mourn and grieve that future because you had it in your head.
And the same thing happens with chronic illnesses, like bringing up the Down syndrome thing. That when I did my back in, and then it was clear that like it's not going to get better. It's a degenerative condition. Like it doesn't degenerate in it, but it's going to be permanent.
There's no improvements of it.
Yeah, and that like I was in the Army Reserves. I was going to be a mechanical engineer. I was going to join the Royal Engineers. I was going to do bomb disposal and all that stuff. So I had my next 15, 20 years of my life mapped out. And now all of a sudden, I have to like backtrack all of that, change my mentality about what I want to be and what I can expect. And then not knowing how I'm going to fit all this pain and all that other stuff in my life too.
Yeah.
And then I did a degree in psychology. But that's the stuff is like, I just wish that there was a lot more time paid on that. And that's why some of these influencers frustrate me, is because they're making a mockery. Like they're turning womanhood into a dress that you put on, and they're acting out a cartoon,
But like you said, I think it's all influencers, right? Like you see even lifestyle influencers.
Yeah.
And their houses are perfect. Everything is flawless. Yeah. It looks like the layout of a magazine. And then real people are watching that. I mean, like, well, you've got 7 kids running around. Your house is fucking spotless and you got fancy shit. I got 1 and my house is a mess.
Yeah.
Right? Like all of that fitness influencers, they know exactly how to pose and what to do to look perfect. And then the average person sees that and they're like, I'm doing that same workout. How come that's not working for me? Like there's putting life out there, or this idealized version of life out there as real life, is so damaging, because I don't know that it, for everybody that it inspires to like, I'm going to work harder to get there. There's probably 10 or 15 people who are like, no matter how hard I try, I'm never going to get there.
Yeah. So what the fuck is the point?
Yeah. It's like comparison is that, what is that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. It's like Yeah. And I'm kind of guilty of it too, right? Like I see these people, like I'll make a TikTok and they're in this house and I'm like, damn it, what do you do for a fucking living? Like,
yeah. There's been a big change over, I think, the last 10, 15 years, where it's starting to hit everybody in every area, like you're saying with these influencers. It used to just be about, say if you're watching movies, right? And then the women are always impossibly beautiful. They're all shaped the same way. They all look and act the same way. Like
they'll have long hair with these like beachy wave curls.
Yeah. But they're all clones of each other, right? But then there's nobody knows what they've had to do to attain that look. And they've got a team of like 5 stylists and hairdressers, and they've got like a private trainer, and they're like bulimic and they've got all these illnesses. But you don't see that. You just see what's in the movie.
And that's why they have all these like magazines where they'll show stars without makeup and people are shocked. It's like, what did you think?
Yeah, they're just people. But then, and I think one of the things that's contributed, like I don't know how big a reason this is, I don't know how much this does contribute to men's mental health, but it certainly plays a role in that if you watch all the old movies, right, the blokes, none of them look like Chris Hemsworth, literally none of them. Right? They just look like regular dudes most of the time. And these guys were like sex icons, And then now you look at the Marvel movies or any of the other movies, the men have all got 6-packs, massive muscles and everything.
I mean, if we look at like the 70s and 80s, right? Tom Selleck and David Hasselhoff were the fucking sex symbols.
Yeah.
They weren't, I mean, they were fit, but they weren't jacked. They had chest hair. Like
Yeah.
But now, like it's this progression. And like the first Batman was Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a crush on Michael Keaton since he was in Mr. Mom, but like he's never been jacked. Yeah. And like he was Superman or Batman. Like I think the anomaly was probably Christopher Reeves as Superman. Yeah. Because he was jacked. But then even now, like their suits are jacking him up even more. Like, wasn't there a Batman suit that had nipples?
Yes. Yeah. That's so stupid. But yeah. I think
that's why I love Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, because he's just like, he's just like an average guy.
It's happening across the board, where everything is getting just as shit now for men as it has been for women the whole time. And I think, like we see this in all the other stuff we speak about, it's often like, well, it's because men had it easier before, but now people are getting wise to their ways, or now we're getting the impossible beauty standards and the body issues.
But at the same time, where it's getting harder for men,
Mm.
right? Because now everyone looks like Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and all the other Chris's. They're all Chris.
Apart from me.
Except for you.
Yeah.
While those standards are getting harder, we're seeing more, not so much in movies, but more in advertising, women with rolls and cellulite and stuff. So it's easing up a little bit on women. People still have a hard time with it because you put a size 14 model on the cover of Sports Illustrated and people lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's tightening, it's loosening up a little bit for women where it's tightening up for men. They had that show America's Next Top Model where the plus size models, they call them plus size models, are still too small to fit into plus size clothing. Like their plus size models were sizes 8 and 10 and 12.
Fuck's sake.
So yeah, plus sizes here started at 14 and their plus size model was a size 10.
That's stressful.
This is going back a few years. I don't watch the show, so I'm hoping that it's gotten better and that they actually have plus size models as their plus size models. But yeah, I watched a couple episodes of one season and the plus size model was a size 10.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Tyra.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to fade to black.